Yes.
Can you tell us, Miss Manjrekar, when did you start in the employ of Mrs. Ahmed?
October 13th last year.
And could you tell us the date of Mr. and Mrs. Ahmed's wedding? And did you take advantage of the other things?
Well, I had a couple of drinks, if I understand the drift of your curiosity. But you cannot say that I was intoxicated.
I have said nothing of the kind. As yet. Now you said you saw Miss Andrea pushing Mr. Ahmed off the roof, and it was a little distance away in the darkness, and shall we say you had a couple of drinks?
The drinks had nothing to do with it.
Now, are you quite certain, Miss Manjrekar, that she was pushing him? I mean, isn't it possible that she was struggling with him?
Well, it's a funny way of struggling. If I was struggling with the man, I wouldn't be hoisting him up by his...
A sacred trust that regenerated a soul.
Yes.
A beautiful, uplifting relationship based on mutual trust.
Yes.
Then why did you hire a detective to spy on your husband, Mrs. Ahmed? Now you said that Mr. Ahmed told you that he never wanted to speak to Miss Andrea again.
Yes, he did.
And yet he called on her after his marriage. He called on her often and at night. Your detective told you that, didn't she?
Yes, I knew it.
How do you explain it?
I cannot explain it. How do I know what blackmail she was holding?
How do you explain the fact that Mr. Ahmed lied to you about the business banquet on the night of January 16th and went directly to Miss Andrea's house? You love your sister profoundly, don't you, Mrs. Ahmed?
Yes, sir, I do.
And you've always made it a point that her every wish should be granted.
I can proudly say yes.
So when she or you desire anything, you don't stop at the price, do you?
We don't need to.
Then you wouldn't refuse to buy the man she wanted, would you, Mr. Singhania?
We object, Your Honor.
Mr. Hussain.
You would not stop if it took you your entire fortune to break the first unbreakable man you ever met, would you, Mr. Singhania?
Objection sustained.
Come on, Mr. Singhania. Are you trying to tell us that your money had nothing to do with Mr. Ahmed dismissing Miss Andrea? That no ultimatum was given to him?
Young man, you are quite mistaken in these insinuations. My sister was no more jealous of Laura Andrea than she would be of Rakib Ahmed's soiled underwear. All men have some at some point of time or the other.
Be careful of statements such as those, Mr. Singhania. Remember that your sister paid for what Miss Andrea got free.
Objection, Your Honor. What
Hey, you
nonsense is
speak
this?
to me like that. Do you know who you're talking to? Do you know who you're talking to? You know who I am, Hussain? You know I can crush you like a cockroach, as I've crushed many better than you.
You certainly don't seem to lose your temper, Mr. Singhania. That is all. Exception. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, we cannot pass judgment on Laura Andrea without passing it on Rakib Ahmed. Yes, he had put himself beyond all present standards. Whether it was below or above them is a question for each of us to decide personally. But I will ask you to remember that he was the man who said he needed no justifications, because he was the justification. The same man who said that laws were made for the fun of breaking them. If you remember that, then you will understand that the life into which he was thrown was as impossible to him as that of a tiger in a vegetarian cafeteria. And in order to escape it, he would be driven to the most desperate means, including suicide.